Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive Course. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game of Fans First Sports Network with my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, Big Cat Country. I like doing the public service of not letting things get too panicked, Travis. One of our comments, even before the great Mia O'Brien brought it up in her rundown, we'll give her shouts there too as well, because she is the great Mia O'Brien. Before she did her Duval rundown, this question, along with it, filed in, of course, shouts to A Baker 9063 on YouTube, on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Comment reads, great content. Thank you. It may not be a big deal, but I would like to know what's the holdup on Travis Hunter officially signing his rookie deal. The number 1 pick has signed his contract, and also the number 3 pick has signed his contract, referring, of course, to Cam Ward and Abdul Carter, I believe. It seems like it could be a hiccup in negotiations. I thought everything was slotted for the first round picks. Am I wrong? Well, first of all, let me get one thing out of the way. Cam Ward getting signed earlier doesn't mean a whole lot because the Titans were that desperate. And I think it's the same thing for Abdul Carter, who has been dubbed kind of the best guy at his position, at a position, I should say, rather than 2, like Travis Hunter. But, I don't think there's a lot to panic about. Travis, what would you say?
I think there's nothing to panic about. I mean, this is not a holdout situation like the 17th overall pick in Cincinnati with their negotiations. This could be for a billion reasons or for no reason at all. Like legitimately, let's not forget fans. And I'm specifically talking to the fans. I think most people in the media kind of understand how this goes. Trevor Lawrence himself, the number 1 pick in the draft, and this same collective bargaining agreement that we're negotiating under, signed his contract. His rookie contract on July 5th. So that was a normal process. No one was freaking out. We're obviously talking about a rookie cornerback and receiver who potentially may be playing both sides of the ball. Maybe there's a few things they kind of want to discuss. Maybe there's a few considerations they kind of want to negotiate. Maybe there is a few pieces of that as far as that offset language they kind of want to hammer out. And maybe they might even want to see what the first rookie cornerback contract looks like in this class and what the first receiver contract looks like in this class to make sure they're not getting a worse deal or something like that or setting a new standard. I fully understand all of those reasons can be a basic reason that maybe we're going to slow play this thing a little bit more. And I say slow play with quotation marks because, again, Trevor Lawrence himself didn't sign his contract until July 5th. So give it time. Right. Give it time, fans. I know this is that time of year where it's like everybody's a little bit interested in everything Travis Hunter related. And this is the worry time of year. So fans got more time on their hands. And we're worried about Travis Hunter's relationship. We're worried about whether he has a prenup. We're worried about whether or not he can play both ways. We're worried. We're worried about everything. But nah, calm down. Calm down, Duval.
The extra worry, I think, is waiting for the other shoe to drop. We talked about that the healing can begin, and it's not fair to think that the Duval devout can say that the healing is done at all in their point of view to their Jacksonville Jaguars. But Travis, I think the part that kind of drives the intelligence and also the legitimate worry, if you look at it a particular way, A. Baker 9063 in the comments said something about, I thought rookie contracts were set. And generally speaking, that's correct. But it's the unprecedented nature of Travis Hunter as a prospect that I think needs to definitely be brought up from the perspective of both he and any NFL organization, right? And this was before you and I started talking off air about Dan Graziano of ESPN's article on the topic. We'll touch on that, and we reference some things here in this episode, so that'll come up a little bit. But already dealing with somebody who is a dual position athlete is not something this NFL has done yet. So if there's a delay, all I have to say, if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars and I'm trying to not leak and negotiate through the public, which I don't think Travis Hunter's going to do that, especially since his whole shtick is being that classy guy. And I don't think it's just a shtick. I think that's who he is. And to maintain that, if I'm his PR people, I'm not letting anything leak out into the public about the negotiations to try to negotiate that way as well. That'll undermine that. But it's really, in my opinion, only about working out this dual athlete aspect is the holdup. And I think that's enough alone. I mean, remember, what was it? Jimmy Graham with, and I know it's not a rookie contract, but hear me out. When the Saints were thinking of franchising him, they went to court to figure out if he was a tight end or a wide receiver. Now, I don't think they're going to go to court here, but
right. That was fair, and that was under a different CBA. I wanted to make sure I didn't note that part with the whole Jimmy Graham situation, because that was a different situation.
And with the new CBA, they still haven't addressed dual position athletes.
Yes and no. In some ways they have, in some ways they have, in other ways they haven't. So you already mentioned Dan Graziano's piece over at ESPN. It was a great read talking about Travis Hunter's rookie contract. But let's talk about the things that we do know. What we do know: Travis Hunter's not holding out. Travis Hunter's in camp. He's participating in all the defensive meetings and practices and everything that you'd want him to participate in, and
staying after things, and staying after get work. Let's be clear about that too.
And
he ain't just checking
things
boxes
that are voluntary. Like, this is voluntary OTAs, to be clear. He's going to sign a 4-year contract for $46-point-something million. It's going to have about $30 million guaranteed. We know all these things because of the slotting system in the NFL right now. These are all the things that we do know. Again, we just don't know those offset language conversations. We don't know if there's anything additional. Being the first potentially two-way player in recent NFL, in the modern NFL, under this CBA, we don't know if there's a few things that maybe him and his agent may want negotiated within the contract with that knowledge with going into this conversation. And that is absolutely fair and worth a conversation, a prolonged conversation, to make sure all sides are happy with this. I fully get all of that. But the more interesting conversation is what's going to happen with that second contract, because Travis Hunter's going to be taken care of as far as his ability to play both ways, because most people don't talk about the performance-based pay in the NFL. So the Jacksonville Jaguars have a bucket of money, about $14 million, that they're given every year, and they're able to give out bonuses at the end of their contracts for performance-based pay. They have to give it out. It's just $14 million they're going to give out based on how many snaps you play, based on your salary and your bonuses and all of those types of things. It's a really complex calculation. Again, Dan Graziano breaks it down very well in his ESPN article. But the gist of it is, if Travis Hunter, as we all expect, ends up leading the Jacksonville Jaguars in snaps in the 2025 NFL season, he likely will end up getting around that $300,000 to $400,000 in additional performance-based pay for the 2025 season. A lot of people have been talking about that on the socials lately, because it's been going around all the different NFL circles, because the number 2 pick in the draft, quarterback for the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, got only $177,000 last year. So Travis Hunter could end up doubling or even tripling that amount just because he plays both ways. So he's going to snaps. Right. He's going to be taken care of because he plays multiple snaps in that aspect of the money, and the rest of it's already kind of like rubber stamped. We already know what it's going to be. But what I was saying earlier, that more interesting part of this conversation is, this isn't the rookie contract isn't the part to freak out about. It's going to get done. Travis Hunter loves Duval County. He wants to be in Duval County. It's going to be signed. It's a non-story until it becomes a story. Mm-hmm. But that second contract, those considerations, like the 5th-year option, if it ends up needing to be taken for this, for the 5th year of this contract, I was going to
bring that up,
and the franchise tag, what you were talking about earlier, like those things make this really interesting, because the franchise tag is determined based on how many snaps you played at a certain position the previous year. That's in this current CBA. So if you played 400 snaps and you played 399 snaps at cornerback and 400 at receiver, your franchise tag is a receiver. So you want that previous season to be more receiver snaps than cornerback snaps, because receivers make more in today's NFL. But the 5th-year option otherwise is how many snaps you've played, how many Pro Bowls you've made over the past 3 seasons. So that's the more interesting conversation. So if we see Travis Hunter as a receiver who plays a little bit of cornerback, that could be a part of that reason. It's because you want to be paid more as a receiver who make more money than a cornerback who makes a little bit less, especially if you're a two-way player.
I don't think that's where the challenge is. What if, and this is the part that the Jags have to prepare for, and if I'm Travis Hunter's agent, I'm arguing certain things for, but what if he plays as many snaps as he did at Colorado as Jimmy Stone's James Gladstone, shouts to Casey from Barky Browns, and it's going to be weird having to shout a Browns podcast for a while every time we bring up Jimmy Stones, but whatever. But like when they bring up, hey, we're trying to get Travis Hunter to play as many snaps on both parts of the ball. This is where it gets awkward. Okay. If I'm Travis Hunter's agent, I want another bracket built. Okay. And I haven't read Graziano's article as deeply, but I'm assuming there's certain buckets that you earn this much when you, incentives. There's certain, the limitation is that there's a roof. And if this happens, Travis Hunter is going to smash through that. That roof is going to be on fire. The roof will be on fire. Okay. See, I didn't laugh at that dad joke. I don't want any hard times here. But what I'm trying to say is this. If I'm his agent, I want a second story. So if Travis Hunter does blow through the roof, I'm getting a little bit more than $300,000 or $400,000 to do it. And I think that's fair, especially since he's using up his body. Let's also reward the organization in some way for being efficient enough to have one player fill two spots. I don't know how you correct that. Do you give them an extra roster spot back? I don't know what that looks like exactly. I'll table that for another episode. But there's a lot of unprecedented we're dealing with here. And let's not even get into let's quickly make this point about the fifth-year option. What if the Jags want to pick up the fifth-year option, but only with him playing one of those procedures at that caliber of snap? Does then his salary and bonus structure change for that fifth year? Because he's not going to meet the snap count if he's getting shifted to only one spot. Who knows? That's the kind of stuff they're working out here today, and that's why there's a delay, in my opinion.
So that's those kind of shenanigans that you hope your NFL franchise don't do. That's negotiating in bad faith at that point. So that's obviously what the negative side looks like. The positive side looks like.
Wait. How's that bad faith?
If you end up limiting someone's snaps at a certain position only because you don't want to pay them at that rate on the following season, like if you plan on franchise tagging him.
No, let's say his body isn't holding up, or he isn't performing well at corner, for example, or he's too damn good at receiver. They don't want to risk that. Now, obviously, that's a conversation that they'd have to have with Travis Hunter to get him to buy in. But it doesn't have to be bad. I hear where you're coming from.
It can be bad faith, but it doesn't have to be bad faith, depending on the surrounding circumstances.
Yes, I absolutely acknowledge that that's on the table. I don't believe that Jimmy Stones is that guy yet. We'll find out. But
I have no indication that that's actually the case. Like just to be clear, I'm not saying that is the case. I am simply saying
it's on the table.
If that's something that could happen, then you kind of obviously have to be aware of that. But overall, I don't think that would happen with this new organization that seems to take care of their players, especially the main guy they brought in to be the face of that franchise. I just don't foresee that happening. But just in response to the statement,
can you imagine what the public would do if they did that to a guy as likable as Travis Hunter?
Let's be real. The people don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. Somebody in the media is going to have to bring it up and be like, oh, this is why they're doing this. Like they did with the Dallas Cowboys, limiting snaps at the end of the season not to pay bonuses.
Do you think that kind of Wiggs, the great Mia O'Brien, Jamal St. Cyr wouldn't bring that up? You out your damn mind. All you ball knowers would bring that to the table for we in the Duval Devout to know, of course. Not that I'm in the Duval Devout, but you get it.
So if Travis Hunter ends up negotiating under this current CBA, which will be renegotiated in the 2030 season,
I think that's right. Yeah, 30 or 31.
If he ends up renegotiating this thing within the 2030, within this current CBA, then we have the limitations as far as the incentives that are able to be kind of negotiated within this, like whether they're likely to be earned or not likely to be earned. So his agent can kind of load up on those, kind of like the Josh Hines-Allen's recent contract. And if you make a certain amount of Pro Bowls, if you've played more than 15% of defensive snaps, then you can, and we're a top 10 defense, you can get another $1 million. And load up on all those things. Absolutely. Think that we do that already in today's NFL, but there's also the potential that the new CBA could be negotiated in that 2030 season. Let's say the Jaguars did take that fifth-year option and franchise tag, Travis Hunter. Then all of a sudden you're in a different CBA that may already have this thing negotiated for, Ohani's, the new NFL Ohani's, the Travis Hunters, and then this may be a non-story. So we don't know what that's going to look like, but that's what I would presume is that there will be a lot of incentives already negotiated within Travis Hunter's contract, because per NFL rules in this current CBA, you have to play 15% of snaps on the defensive side of the ball to have an incentive put into your contract that says I get paid extra amount of money depending on our defensive performance. And the same thing applies for the offensive side of the ball and vice versa.
What about if they try to franchise Travis Hunter to avoid paying him for both positions? But if they do that because he's played, if they do that, but he's played at least X percentage or number of snaps, if they do that, they would have to franchise him at the more expensive contract, which I believe would be receiver. And then they would have to take a hit. So they would only have a 52-man roster spot. I think that's a good way to kind of negotiate through that if that's what they're going to try to do. Not that they would, but I think
saying in the CBA.
In the next CBA for franchising a player that plays enough stats to be a two-way player. And again, this is so rare.
That would suck. Yeah, that would suck. I mean, that would be the reason I drafted him early is because of his ability to maybe play two positions. Then don't ding me for franchising the guy who was able to do the thing. That's why I drafted him. The reason
why you got to get dinged is because he can't franchise tag for both salaries and be top 10 ranked in both salaries. What percentage of the actual salary cap that would represent for a player is asinine.
Well, again, but he's still able. Well, maybe not the franchise tag, but the salary cap. Well, sorry, the fifth-year option is based on how many Pro Bowls and snaps you play. So he may get a little bit more in that way. That the player wins a little bit more in that scenario. So
you had mentioned going into going into the second contract, and I'm talking about when that comes up. You see, but folks, members of
tough to get pushed through.
Duval, oh, absolutely would. Duval divers of the world understand. This is the kind of rigmarole that Travis Hunter represents. That's the only reason I even bring up the question. Champion, I don't expect you to have an answer because it's Duke's crazy.
That's craziness that I hope I never have to be involved in those kind of decisions and conversations. But on the off chance that I ever was blessed enough to even be asked my opinion by somebody who matters in the NFL, I would say this: there is a 0% chance you're going to get an undrafted free agent from Minnesota who lives on a farm up there or whatever else to agree to a contract that limits the roster size that might directly impact his salary on that 53-man roster, because of a one unicorn.
It would be a contract. Yeah, it would be a CBA, and it would be really hard for them to get it through. But again, we're only bringing it up to show the dimensions of complicated Travis Hunter becomes if he is successfully the same impact of player he was at Colorado as a Buff. Period.
That's fair. I only point that out, that the fact that the NFL has so many of those undrafted guys or those low drafted guys that have to agree with these things that's going to impact 1 to 2 players in their time in the league, that I'm just like, that's going to be a hard thing to push through. That's the only reason I say that.
It would be a pork barrel situation. Like, hey, here's this thing that you're going to get that all of you really want. Name it. I don't care what it is. I don't know. Like lifetime health coverage, which is something players don't have currently for those that don't know. Fair. But in exchange, if you do this to a Travis Hunter, you got to do this. And again, there's no way the league would do that, obviously. We're obviously just making stuff up just through hyperbole so you know a situation where it might actually stick. But
it will get interesting.
Interesting is a very fine word. I would have said cluster. Bleep. I'm just saying.
I will say at the end of all of this, the whole point, if you walk away with nothing else from this Duval Dive podcast, one, if you're listening to this podcast on any other area other than the Jacksonville Jag, like other than the Duval Dive on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you catch your podcast, or if you're looking at this place anywhere other than the Duval Dive on YouTube, please like and subscribe us, Duval Dive on YouTube, as we are going over to a new
change is coming podcast. Is what we'll say. Change is coming.
And
we will be announcing shortly.
Duval Dive on YouTube. Yeah, if you want to get the Duval Dive on YouTube, you got to like and subscribe us. So let's get that done as of the first of the month. So just stay tuned.
So you ain't got to give them. You ain't got to give them the entire boat.
Yeah. But also, don't freak out, Duval County. What's going to happen with Travis Hunter? It's going to happen with Travis Hunter. But right now it's a non-story, and just stop worrying. Just take a vacation with the family. Take a vacation with yourself. Go get your nails done. Go get your feet done, your hair done. Just look glorious, and don't worry about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with none of us. Let them boys negotiate, and they're going to figure it out. It's still Duval, and he's still here practicing. Let's go.
I bite my nails. I can't get my nails. I can get a haircut, though. That's fair. Anyways, Travis D. Holmes, tell the world.
Hey, man, follow me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. But like and subscribe us on the Duval Dive on YouTube. Like, rate, and review us wherever you catch your podcasts. Even Duval Dive on TikTok. That bad boy's growing. So absolutely keep following us. Keep commenting. Again, this whole podcast happened today because this was spontaneous. Only because you guys commented some great stuff in the Travis Hunter last podcast on Fridays. So if you guys keep engaging, we're gonna keep giving you that content, and we appreciate you guys. Where can you be found, sir?
Yeah, of course. I'm Kyle Nash with the Game of Fans First Sports Network. If you haven't figured out yet that your mailbag drives content, your comments can too. And this is an example of that today. So not only do I throw special thanks to my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, but also to A. Baker 9063 for throwing in the comment that led to this 20 minutes of awesome. I didn't think this was going to go this long, but here we are. We had a great conversation. But yeah, Kyle Nash, student of the game of Fans First Sports Network, writing on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic, as well as covering things UCF sports for the Black and Gold Banneret. Find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. And Night Shift podcast and YouTube channel as well for the Black and Gold Banneret. So that was fun. Until next time, everyone. Come on, Mouse. Until next time, everyone. Class dismissed.